make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
The hit indie horror comic returns this August.
Roar. Roar.
Colonel Ironside's here. 200 years I stood in the gap, fighting those who would harm my country. It was my honor, my sacred duty, so help me God. 9 times they took my life. 9 times I stood back up and made them pay. The freedom fighter and I could handle anything, but someone betrayed me. I was ambushed, made mortal, rendered powerless, and retired. They passed an amendment and made me a civilian before I left the hospital. For 50 years I watched my country change. Watched its work while erasing me from history. The day I quit my job, I powered up and discovered they lied about that too. I'll remind them of freedom. I'll remind them of duty. I'll remind them of their oaths and who they serve. I'll remind them while I'm shoving it down their throats.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, this is Monday. The Gen X Files pop culture from the perspective of those who were there when it was written, because most of it was written for Gen X, and so we were there. We were there. Anyway, so let me see. I already got a comment over here. Whole lot of hola. What's up, Wrangler? Hey man, good to see you. Good to see you. All righty. So today gonna do a little bit of a controversial subject, but thing that a lot of people have opinions on. So I'm going to do a no thing, and I'm going to put the link in the chat just in case somebody wants to come on and talk about it. Sometimes I get Scottish man on the channel when I do that, but he might be in the middle of the night right now, so I don't know. Anyway, so alrighty, that is in the chat. Let me go ahead and pin it right quick. Pin message. There we go. All right. So that's pinned in the chat. If anybody wants to hop on and talk about this particular subject. So what is the subject today? Do we need drugs to be creative? All right. Now, there is a long tradition of people in the creative arts, shall we say, altered states. Might join in a bit, meeting or supper right now. All right. If you can, Wrangler, that's fine. If not, that's fine. So we're going to talk a little bit about some theories that I have personally. I'm going to talk a little bit about Stephen King's autobiography where he addresses this. And before that, though, I am going to give some Is It Good reviews for 2 comic books I got. One of them today, but I had the digital about them a couple months ago. I didn't want to talk till I had a hard copy. But we'll start with this one right here. I believe I played the teaser trailer. This is Mythicals Part 3. Now, me and the writer of this one have an interesting back history in that I've, in his opinion, given away too much information on various things. So I will be just giving a general overview and a general review, but not very many specifics today on that one. But he's gave me all these cool cards. 6 a.m. sticker for got these and not sure why he did this, but has a lot of dossiers on the back with a lot of redactions. And some of the redactions, I know it's kind of like meant to kind of like make you question, like, oh, what don't we know, And it's pretty cool idea. I got both covers, so this is that one and Cat's Eye cover. And well, not going to show you the art. The art is very good. I'll stay on the side of not revealing too much on this one. Having to erase reviews in the past because problems were had with the amount of content that I gave out. And so I am just going to say for this one, and I did read an earlier version of the script, and I kind of knew what I was getting into on this one. And this is more of a transitory book, basically. It's kind of moves the story along, but it's like less of a distance the previous 2 installments. But 4 is really going to be action packed from the script that I read. But basically, I definitely first 3 are definitely worth getting. But 4 is going to be a banger. And I'm hoping that we'll see that one pretty soon. But all right, so my rating on this one. All right, so 4 carrots on this one. I have given, I think I've given 4 and 5s in the past, but it's a good read, and you definitely need to read it to kind of understand. There's some conclusions that happened in the previous. There's some as a character or 2 that are introduced that you'll need to know for later. There's it kind of deepens the mystery of the series, but that's all I'm going to say. Definitely worth it back. Now, hopefully I won't get in trouble, but we'll find out. Anyway, but yeah, this one I got Mobster Mash. Universal monsters as a like mob bosses, and it's really cool mashup idea. The art, let's see who did the art on this one. Well, Will Robeson did the story, but I'm not seeing. Oh, okay, Dollhouse. Dollhouse did the art on it, but it's just really cool. I mean, it's just cool. It's got some really neat stuff in it. I mean, look at that. it's just crazy, nutty. Look at that. Look at this stuff, man. Just a crazy, nutty, madcap kind of thing, where it takes like the universal monsters and kind of like makes, puts it in a mob, kind of a mob setting, and so the big bad is like Don Dracula. I mean, it's it's just really cool. And I had a lot of fun with it. The action's really cool, nonstop, and you got everybody kind of like, in a way, they kind of stay in character, but at the same time they cover all the mobster tropes, and it's just a nutty, crazy idea. I'm hoping he'll come to FMC. He hasn't yet, but he fulfilled this on Kickstarter. This is Speech Bubble Comics, and they've got a pretty decent lineup. I left their link below if you want to check them out. If I have it, it's speechbubblecomics.com. But this Mobster Mash is definitely really neat. The cover kind of like for Usual Suspects kind of a cover. I just dig it. I really do. Real fun. I'm gonna have to give this one a sometimes you'll give a comic like a benefit of a doubt just from the sheer fun of it, just because the idea is so nutty and so out there that to come anywhere near landing the premise, then you give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, just for the sheer premise alone, I probably gave them an extra half a carat or so. But both of them, the mythical series is awesome, and that one's good, really awesome. So, I'm getting a lot of bangers here lately. I think it's because I'm backing like people that I've had on here that I appreciate. I did a show with Will Robeson back when I was doing the Monday call-in show. And anyway, but that's really cool book, really fun book. Anyway, get to the subject. Now, this right here, Stephen King's own writing. Most of the time, I really don't like to push books from people who hate my guts. And he's pretty vocal about how much he just despises anybody left or right of Chairman Mao. Typical Maine snob, liberal snob. But the thing is, this book is worth its weight in gold. This book is the best book on writing. The practical stuff is just amazing. But the biography, buried in the biography, well, I did have it like ready. Hold on a second. All right. There it is. Okay. All right. Let me read this right quick. At the end of my adventures, and he was a alcoholic cokehead. At the end of my adventures, I was drinking a case of 16-ounce tall boys a night. Case. Okay. And there's one novel, Cujo, that I barely remember writing at all. I don't say that with any pride or shame, only with a vague sense of sorrow and loss. I like that book. I wish I could remember enjoying good parts as I put them down on the page. So the worst of it, I no longer wanted to drink and no longer wanted to be sober either. I felt evicted from life. At the start of the bro back, I just tried to believe the people who said things would get better if I gave them time to do so. I never stopped writing. Some of the stuff came out was tentative and flat, but at least it was there. I buried all those unhappy, lackluster pages on the bottom drawer of my desk and got on to the next project. And little by little, I found the beat again, and after that, I found the joy again. I came back to my family with gratitude, back to my work with relief, and I came back to the way folks come back to a summer cottage after a long winter, checking first to make sure nothing's been stolen or broken during the cold season. Nothing had been. It was still all there, still all whole. Once the pipes were thawed out and electricity was turning back on, everything worked fine. Now, this is a really important point. It starts with this. Put your desk in the corner, and every time you sit down there to write, remind yourself why it isn't in the middle of the room. Life isn't a support system for art. It's the other way around. Okay. Now, I could read a whole lot more, but I really highly suggest if you are if you're a writer or any kind of creative endeavor, he's got some really important things to say. As a matter of fact, the telepathic bunny came from this book. But really important thing to say about how creativity works. Okay. Now, according to Stephen King and according to me, I believe this myself, that art is pre-existing artifact. Art is more like archaeology than it is like channeling. Art is basically there's something that you're catching hold of and that you're trying to get out as intact as possible into the world. Art is essentially birthing something that is not you. It's part of it, but it comes from you. But once it's out, it's not you anymore. And because of that, the more you can get yourself out of the art, the more pure the art is, and the more it will resonate and the more permanence it winds up having. You see all the time in modern pop culture, people absolutely are all up in their art. I mean, all up in it. And as a matter of fact, they consider that a feature of the art that they produce. It's like I am a check this box, check this box, check this box, and so every character I write checks the same boxes because I have to inject my lived experiences into this character for it to be authentic. And then everybody looks at that and goes, reject, 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 reject. Okay. I'm not inviting you to my living room because you're an obnoxious nutcase who believes all this crazy stuff. And so why would I invite your character who is you, who's just basically you as a self-insert, into my living room? Why would I watch this movie where you, a person who I wouldn't want to watch at any period of time during a day, are injecting yourself into this movie in the form of this character who is you, basically is you. And if I don't like you, then I'm not going to like your character. If I don't agree with you, and the things that you're spewing, then I'm not going to agree with your character spewing those same things. In other words, the more people are in their art, the more your feelings about them infect the art that they're making. Stephen King, I'm going to be honest, once he started running his mouth and showing what an odious human being he is, I really haven't read a lot of his stuff since. And I used to be pretty avid. And the own writing book, though, it's gold. It's absolute gold. But some of the stuff that he's written since, like the last few years when he started like really being vocal and being, like argumentative and really being out there. And it's really kind of gotten into his writing. And his writing really shows a lot of personal politics and the personal philosophies that you don't see some of his earlier work. And some of the best work that he did blasted out of his mind. So the question remains, do we have to be altered? We do have to be in an altered state to create art. Okay. Now, some of the best artists that we know of in all genres were inveterate drug addicts and drug users, right? The 27 Club is a real thing. People really hit 27 years old and, they're gone. However, is that a feature of the creative mind, the addictive personality? I have an addictive personality myself, and it rears its ugly head from time to time. And I'm just I can't help but wonder if that's part of creativity, is having an addictive personality, because so many people who are very creative wind up being either like OCD or obsessive, or people who kind of like got to silence the voices in their head in some way, shape, or form. So they use substances to kind of numb it all. And it's kind of a sorry excuse, Ernest Hemingway blamed his drinking on the fact that he felt so hard about so much about life that he needed, to numb his sensibilities so he could write. And so he was saying basically that the alcohol and abuse, it basically allows me to write. Hold on a second. Oh, what's up, Woogie? What's up, man? Good to see you there, dude. So the question remains, are these two things married? Okay. I keep getting told from time to time, because I am a teetotaler. Never taken any drugs, never drank any alcohol. And I've been having I've had people tell me, it's like, man, you got to at least do some, psilocybin mushrooms, or, something mind altering drug. It will really help your writing. It will improve your getting in touch with that part of yourself. My friend Craig, Drunk Craig. The reason I call him Drunk Craig is because he drinks a lot of beer. He doesn't stay drunk. Okay, yeah, most of the time it doesn't seem to affect him. He was an actor for a long time. Yeah. His liver is probably ironclad. That's all I got to say. But he tells this interesting story. Tell me if it sounds like a John Hughes film. Don't do it. Yeah. God, I won't. I'm not. But he tells some stories, and I keep telling him it sounds exactly like a John Hughes film. Okay. But he was a shy kid. Anybody that knows him now is like, he was shy? Are you kidding me? But he was a shy kid. He basically stayed in his bedroom most of his teenage years. You know, when he wasn't fighting off a ghost. In his there's a story on my channel about that. But anyway, but he basically listened to a lot of records of show tunes. He loved to sing, and he would sing along with these records. And he got really good on the My Fair Lady soundtrack. One of the songs was "On the Streets Where You Live," and suddenly his school was doing the show. And so he shows up, and he was like, I was nobody. Nobody liked me. I didn't fit in anywhere. And I showed up for this audition, and it's mostly popular kids got the parts. And so I show up, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's he doing here?" And he says, and they started the song, and I started singing, and so suddenly every head in the place went, who is that, right? And suddenly everybody's like freaking out. It's like, oh my God, your voice is incredible. Where'd that come from? And he got invited to his first party, and the girl lived on the golf course, near a golf course, and he got so drunk at the party. It was like one of the first times he ever got drunk, and he went running across the golf course in the middle of the night, and they had to chase him down and carry him back. And he says they were carrying him like a conquering hero. And he's like, carry me, I'm too good, and I think that's what he said. But after that, he was part of the in crowd, and he was popular after that. And I was like, that's freaking John Hughes, man. That's John Hughes. I mean, that's just right out of a John Hughes film. I told him he needs to write it down. Yeah, he needs to write that down. But one of the things that he was talking about that when he would go to write, he wrote a lot of play adaptations for theater that he ran, and he would just basically get wasted, and put a song on in the background. He'd have television on, and he would drink alcohol, and he would write these scripts, and the scripts are good. I've seen several of them. He really great, really good writer, and he's actually had a published book, which is really good published book. And but he said that he would have to kind of like get in the right frame of mind, and for him, the right frame of mind was being a little wasted, I think he meant alcohol, but who knows? Anyway, but he said that for him, it helped him because he's like, some ways how altering your mind with these substances kind of like gets you out of the rut, gets you out of yourself, lowers your inhibitions. And when you lower your inhibitions, you're able to have access to more of your creativity. Now that's definitely one way of looking at it. And I did a poll earlier, and it was like, so what effect does why do people get more creative, when they've had foreign substances in their body? Is it the substances themselves that cause the creativity, or is it the alteration of your mind that causes the creativity? I also had 3, which is stop being a doofus, and most people chose that. Sorry, I'm going to keep being a doofus, but a lot of people chose that second option. That they think it's the way it alters your mind that allows for the creativity. I've got a friend, Blue Shack Comics. I was hoping he's going to be able to come on, but he kind of like wrote me what he would say if he made it on. But let me go ahead and read that to you. Yeah, he wasn't going to be able to make it today. But he says, wow, I think my opinion would be that they can assist in giving you a new perspective, aka slight personality change, but at the same time, they can also screw up your perspective or remove it altogether because you're so effed up. I do think it goes both ways, honestly, and more than that, I think it's up to the type of person who's doing the drugs. Certain people can't even take a puff of something without like losing their minds. Other people can do the alphabet of drugs and still be themselves, aka Craig. Let's face it. I think it's the person. One thing that you may or may not be aware of, you can look it up. High-level empathic people or empathetic people are often in pain. Feeling the emotional burden of others being aware often makes you responsible. So people with high empathy are often trying to use drugs to numb their senses. Most of the time, the names you mentioned were those types of people. So often enough addiction for them in drugs is medication to try to ease things up on their brain. Empaths, due to their heightened sensitivity and ability to absorb the emotions of others, are sometimes prone to addictions as a way to numb themselves or cope with sensory overload. This can manifest in various forms, including substance abuse, overeating, shopping, or other addictive behaviors. The underlying reason is often the desire to escape the emotional sensory stimuli that empaths find overwhelming. In other words, maybe yes. I didn't really think of that though, about the whole empathy angle. But I think one of the things about being a creative, especially a writer, is that you can kind of like see other people's points of view, and that can be a good thing or it can be a very bad thing. And sometimes you'll write characters who point of view you really don't want in your head. I've written characters that I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be that person. But you have to be capable of writing that. Otherwise, you're writing dead art, which is pretty much what's happening today. Bringing to the show the mod of mods, my friend, Mr. Wrangler.
How's it going?
Hey. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Frequency
I look like the Green Goblin.
Yes, you do. Well, I was actually saving it for when you come on. But when Stephen King was like deep in cocaine addiction, one of the projects that he got involved with was a little film. Can you guess the name of the film? Anyone?
Wouldn't happen to be Maximum Overdrive, would it?
It would indeed. I'm trying not to get copyright struck, so I sped it up, but that made it even more hilarious. But I used the version of it that Stephen King was in, basically the trailer that Stephen King was in, introducing the movie. And
I remember seeing that on TV as a kid where he points at the camera and says, "I'm going to scare the hell out of you."
Yeah, that's the one. There's another one that's kind of cleaned up and it's kind of doesn't have him in it, but I was like, I've got to use the one with Uncle Stevie. And when you speed him up a little bit, you're like, yeah, that dude was definitely on cocaine. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Stephen King. I've written several motion pictures, but I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive, which is the first one I've directed. A lot of people have directed Stephen King novels and stories, and I finally decided if you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself. Who was driving? I don't know. It was my first picture as a director, and you know something? I sort of enjoyed it. I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right. You want what? You got one. I just want to get the hell out of here. So come and spend some time with me and my friends at the Dixie Boy. Spend some time in the dark. Please don't have me in the dark. I'm going to scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise. You're going to get us in an awful lot of trouble, man. We are radio turn on. Maximum terror. Jesus, tell me he is. Maximum king. Maybe tomorrow, Dad, will again. Dino De Laurentiis presents Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
Joe Blow is a fun channel sometimes.
Yeah, I sped it up myself. I was trying to prevent a copyright strike. We're still up, so evidently it worked. But that's the thing, though, is that even without that, you're like, that dude was flying. I mean, he had so much cocaine. He had so much cocaine in his system. It was ridiculous, man.
You know, I remember that comet coming through in the 80s. The tail engulfed the earth. All the machines came to life. Nintendo went and bricked all their NESs because of it.
Oh, really?
No,
I didn't know that.
No, it's a joke. I mean, current Nintendo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's based on a short story called Trucks. And I out of all that out of that book, Trucks was like the least, probably the short story I liked the least out of the whole entire collection. I think it was Skeleton Crew, maybe. But I was like, he's making a movie off of that? What? And there ain't enough story there for that. And sure enough, I was right. I mean, that story was paper thin, and it's just like, I don't know what he's thinking. That's a lot of cocaine involved. A lot.
Now, full transparency, I have never read a single Stephen King novel, so I don't really have too much of a basis to talk about it because I know a lot of his movies he did not like how they were done at all, so I can't use those for comparison, really.
Yeah.
I did read a short story of his once called The Gunslinger.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, read this. If you read nothing else from him, that's gold. That's gold. Yeah, he didn't like the one that he didn't like the most was The Shining, believe it or not. He really didn't like
their YouTube video essays all over the place on how he hated that one.
Yeah.
Ironically, it became one of the most popular.
Well, the reason why he didn't like it was because he had a redemption arc for Jack Torrance, and they kind of took the redemption arc out of it, and he didn't like that part of it. So he came back later and he did a TV movie that put the redemption arc back in it, and it sucked. And he also Dr. Sleep is like a sequel to The Shining, and didn't like it either. Mainly because he made Jack like a secondary character in his own book, and then the movie was even worse. I mean, he was. I mean, Jack Torrance was. I mean, not Jack Torrance, but the kid. The kid grows up and he's barely a character in his own book. Essentially, that had the girl. He keeps doing this killing character over and over of this superpower girl who's like this the secret to everything. He does it over and over again. He did it in Rose Red. He did it in The Shining. He's done it multiple times. Bag of Bones. It's just over and over again. He does this same like super powered little girl character, and he just I don't know why he has that fixation, but he just it's all over his fiction, and that and child rape. Anyway,
I've heard that there's a lot of that in his books, like just horrible things happening to kids. I sometimes wonder, is he all right? Did something bad happen to him? Not saying that
well,
they sold
considering
anything,
some of the
but
things he's
it's got to come from somewhere.
Well, I mean, considering some of the things he's come out in support of in the last few years, I do have my doubts. I have to say. Anyway, but child sex aside, he some of his best work was some of his earlier stuff when he was still getting blasted, and on the road to nowhere. It's what he called. But he was talking about how, like in Misery, Annie Wilkes was kind of like his addiction. Tommy Knockers, the aliens were like his addiction, and like Gerald's Game, his the handcuffs that handcuffed her to the bed was like his addictions, and he's like, you see it all through his Cujo. Cujo is like his addictions. And he kept writing this over and over again about being trapped or being, being like imprisoned by something or being at the mercy of something. And it's like over and over again, he'd write the same thing, and he says that he thinks that was his like a mind trying to tell him that you're addicted, you're addicted to this stuff and it's going to kill you. And I mean, he was so deep into addiction that his wife and kids did an intervention.
Wow.
And they said to him, basically, we're not going to watch you kill yourself. It's either us or the drugs and alcohol. And he's like, give me 24 hours to think it over.
He wanted his last hurrah.
I guess, I don't know, but it's like I had this discussion with somebody before, and they're like, "Man, that must have been some good stuff. That was not great stuff. That was Colombian gold there, man." To like, okay, so my whole entire family's about to walk away from me. Okay, how good was that stuff, right? Yes, absolutely. Anyway, let me see. The other superpower that females have is extraordinary ability to tick men off. All right, yeah, I hear you. But I mean, the thing that the argument that keeps getting made over and over again is like, how do you access that part of yourself, that creative part of yourself? And with me, if I have, I've had like some really bad, writer's blocks, and then I finally started breaking through it when I started putting on music, like it's just like it's a non-copyright music that it's like generated in these like chains, and I would just put that on and have that playing while if I'm doing like something that's more along the lines of a fantasy, I'll do the fantasy music playlist. If I'm doing something more along of superhero, I'll do that superhero kind of style playlist, and it works like a charm. I mean, I was doing a kind of a horror short story, and I put on one that was kind of like horror themed, and it was weird because
that really does make a difference.
It does, because I was writing like a really scary thing that happened, and all of a sudden the music like fit what I was writing, and I was like, because I was writing about like this bell that toned into in a supposedly abandoned town, and suddenly the church bell tolls, and in the music it literally had a bell toll in it. And I was sitting there, I was like, that's not creepy at all. That's not creepy at all.
I did something similar, but I was writing a battle scene, and the main characters, they were fighting against this mystical construct, a Reaper. And I went and just typed into YouTube, ominous battle music. And I found this one song. It was called Berserker by Light and Darkness. And I started playing that. I'm like, this is exactly the tone I'm going for this scene. And I just kept playing it over and over. You know, I drive for a job, so I was playing that over and over at work while driving and just kind of creating the whole scene in my head. And when I finally had it, I got home from work and I just put it all down.
Right. Well, that's the thing, though. It's like there are things that you can do to access that whatever, get your brain in that like mindset, or get your brain in that like creative whatever it is that where you go when you start, you know, channeling the art, whatever frequency you're tuning into. And there are ways to do that without getting addicted to anything or getting your mind blasted, you know. It's like the fact that out of the whole entire grunge movement, there's one lead singer that's still alive.
Wow.
That's Eddie Vedder. He's the only one still alive.
It's
rest of them are dead.
Quite a wake of destruction.
Yeah, and it's it's like at the same time, you know, it's like you see this all the time, a self-destructive impulse. You know, the you know, the lead singer for the Joy Division, which is a hilarious name because there was no joy in that music, like no joy in that music. Okay. Joy Division is actually a women that were forced into prostitution by the Nazis.
Oh.
They called it the Joy Division. And so it's bleak name, and the music was very bleak. You know, Love Will Tear Us Apart was one, like the biggest song that they did. And the lead singer was a manic depressive with epileptic episodes, who you know, had a bad day and wound up hanging in the garage. Oof. And but then the group was left. Well, you know, they didn't want to go. They didn't want to separate, and so they formed a group called New Order.
Oh,
and then they go.
Them I recognize.
Yeah, Blue Monday, and yeah.
Because the version of their song is one I used heavily for writing a certain character.
Yeah. And well, it's because the group was still a great group. You know, it's just their lead singer that had all these issues and everything like that, and he had issues with drug addiction and things like that, and he just self-destructed, but the group was still creative. The group was still good, and the rest of them, none of them like were into drugs and alcohol, and they're still together. As far as I know, they're still together today.
Yeah.
But
the song Blue Monday, when I heard the cover for that by the band Orgy, I was like, that right there is the anthem of the angry empath. Mm-hmm. And I used that whenever I had to write any scene she was battling in. It was like, and it gets the mind going. It really does.
How do you feel? You know.
Although they do get a little lost in the 80s weeds in a few parts of the song there and the instrumental, but it's fun.
Well, but that the creativity was not like because of the self-destruction. It was not because of this guy's mental problems and his you know, his depression or whatever. The creativity was in the band, you know, and and what's that's, you know, you see it all the time where like one member who's like the shining light, or the one that everybody credits with like writing most of the music and things like that, when they die, but then the band is still there, and then they take on a new lead singer or something like that later, and they start making the music again, and the music's still there. And that happens a lot. And it's just like it's just like the thing that made that person self-destruct was not the talent. You know, it was the talent is still in the rest of the collective, right? And it's like you see this all the time where people like Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know who that is, right?
I'm drawing a blank at the moment. I recognize the name. I'm just not. It's not clicking.
Okay. Well, he's one of the greatest guitarists of all time. You know, Texas Flood. We did a version of Foxy Lady. You know.
Okay.
Purple Haze, whatever. But incredible guitarist. Okay. But he, everybody thought he was awesome, but he didn't really start just selling out arenas and really becoming massive until after he kicked his drug and alcohol problem. And he said basically that was getting in the way of the music for him. And but he didn't understand it because he spent all the time so blitzed and thinking that, okay, to get on stage, I've got to, you know, have alcohol in me. And he
uses coffee.
Yeah, John, I need coffee. Yeah, I hear you. There you go. Right. Caffeine. That's your drug of choice. But
I'm having some right now.
See this? There you go. It's like the best. My favorite album by Motley Crue is the one that they did, the only one they did sober, which is Dr. Feelgood, right?
And they hate that song, by the way.
Which one, Dr. Feelgood?
Yeah, they look back at it and think it's stupid now because of what they were advocating for.
Right. Which is funny, you know, the anti-drug song was on the only album they did sober, you know. So, whatever. But funny thing about it is what they realized that once they were sober, they didn't like Vince Neil, so suddenly they kick him out of the band.
And you just reminded me of one of Toby Keith's songs. You ain't much fun since I quit drinking.
There you go. Exactly. But, you know, I mean, Kickstart My Heart is just an incredible banger. I mean, it's just an incredible song.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, you see this over and over again where people who are, you know, like the group Creed, they used to like do Jaeger bombs right before they went out on stage. And then they got out there and they're like, you know, they're like screwed up, you know, right out of the box, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, why are we doing this stuff again?" It's like, "Yeah, it's our thing." It's like, "Well, what does it have to be our thing?" Well, not really. And then they got out there and they killed it.
It's like first paradigm shift.
Exactly, and suddenly they're killing shows, and it's like, what's they didn't like give themselves that handicap right out of the box. But you know, it's the people that advocate for this, the people that advocate that you drug and alcohol, you know, to access the creative impulse or whatever. Most of the time, you're like, have you ever? Go ahead.
I personally will never advocate for it, but I would. But full disclosure, I do use THC, and I would be lying if I would said that never helped me get through something. But I'll tell you this much: continuing to use it does not help, because I've gotten a lot more done off of it than on it.
There you go.
And music is far more powerful.
There you go. Well, you know, for me, you know, I think that a lot of people that are like thinking that they have to be in some way mind altered before they can reach the creative impulse, most of the time they are scared to not be. You know, Stephen King talked about that when the decision came down, they said it's either us or the drugs and alcohol. He thought he was giving up writing. if he gave up the drugs and alcohol. He thought that would be the end of his writing career if he gave up the drugs and alcohol. And I don't think he did, but
Yeah,
but see that
he's still writing.
Yeah. Well, it's just that I think it becomes a crutch to me.
It's exactly what it becomes.
Well, the creative impulse is such a nebulous thing. And anybody, what's a creative space for me is not a creative space for anybody else. It's so individualized.
Yeah.
Because we're all different instruments, and that's why when you see all this art come out that's like so like synchronized and everybody, all the arts feel same, then you're like, well, that can't be art, because there should be while you're like channeling something from somewhere else, you're still part of it. You're in the DNA. And if you start seeing art, like right now, you listen to top 10 radio and everything's snapped to the beat. Everything is perfect, is tune shifted. Everything is like this lifeless, like robotic kind of sound to it, right? And they have songwriters who like spit this stuff out, and then they give it to the artist, and the artist goes to the same producers, and everything's pro tooled to death. And at the end result, everything sounds the same. While as used to, guys would like buy studio time with their pocket change and go in there, and they had like an hour to knock something out, and then they like throw down this song that they did in a when they were warming up their instruments the day before, and it wound up being a #1 hit or something like that, because there's something organic about it, right? American Woman,
the good old fashioned garage bands.
Exactly. You know where they are? They're on the internet.
Well, you got Greta Van Fleet. That's the only current one I'm sure there are others. They're the only current ones that I know of. And a lot of people kind of complained about them, going, "Oh, they sound too much like Led Zeppelin." It's like that's a bad thing. Look, nobody else is making this style of music anymore these days, so let them, please.
Well, everything else has got to be like hip hop or something like that, or produced to an inch of its life. But that's the thing. That's why we're experiencing a renaissance right now. But a lot of people aren't aware of it. It's because it's almost entirely on the net, almost entirely out in crowdfunding circles. Or
as many problems as the internet has brought us, it has also given us the tools for indies to rise in all the different creative arts, from filmmaking, book writing, graphic novels, animation, video games, and even tabletop games, and all sorts of other things. Music that is all coming out. You've probably heard the term many times, Iron Age. And that's what it's about, is a time when the indies are rising and everything's becoming decentralized. So this is our chance.
It is. It really is. And, it's like the Superman trailer, the ones that have been coming out for the James Gunn movie. All of them are kind of like you watched them and you're kind of like, I don't really know where this movie is. I don't know what to feel about it. But then Perry Chan, producer on Nerdrotics, he gets a hold of all these trailers and he recuts it. And with an eyeball, kind of like recut it like if it was a movie, like the 1978 movie. And he used John Williams' music behind it. And you watch that, and you're like, I'm going to go see this movie,
It was energizing, wasn't it?
It was. And it's like I said, it's like, that's the difference between getting a production company, a promotion company to cut a trailer, and all the people in there are basically just, they're not there for the love of it. They're there because it pays their bills.
Yeah, we
pays
can
for
see that in movies today, where you look at like some of these movie adaptations of superheroes, and some of their costumes are just dumb. And then they're like, well, how would the comic accurate version work in real life? It's like, have you gone to a Comic-Con? Some of these cosplayers, you should hire them.
I'm serious. Oh man, some of the Comic-Con or some of the cosplayers are like, you're like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that?
Yeah. I remember when a couple of years ago when someone was also saying, you want comic book accuracy for this woman character? Real women don't look like that. Again, point to the Comic-Con. Is like, there's 5 of them standing right over there. Go talk to them. They're real.
Yeah. Well, there's about 5. Yeah, there's about 5 of them. 5 of them over there, and their organs look like they're in the right place. I'm just saying, they look like they're in the right place. Because remember, that was the thing. Where's their organs? Where is their organs located? It's like, well, right behind her boobs. I mean, what can I say? But anyway, but yeah. So I just think it's an interesting conversation to have. I'm always fascinated by how people tap into creativity. Where does creativity come from? Is it, like, I believe it's a pre-existing artifact. I believe it's out there. I believe you like tune into it every once in a while, and you see this over and over again. When somebody has like they go into a studio with all these songs, and they like cut all these songs, and there's like, oh, we need one more for the record. It's like, well, I have this stupid thing that's a throwaway. Why don't we work that up? And it winds up being dust in the wind, which is what happened. Which, because
it's a little song. No one's ever heard of that one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because he, the lead guitarist for Kansas, would play this. He was kind of like keep his fingers flexible by playing this thing he would do on his acoustic guitar, this figure that he would use on his guitar. And every time he would play it, his wife would come by, and she's like, I really like that. You need to do something with that, And so they're sitting there in the theater or in the studio, and they're like, we're kind of like, I think we're at the end here. And then it's like, he comes up, it's like, well, actually, I have this one more thing. And they're like, oh man, Oliver's like, oh no, we're done, man. We're done for the day. He's like, no, let me just play it. Let me just play it. And he played it, and Oliver looked at each other like, yeah, we're gonna work on this one. And it wound up being Dust in the Wind, their biggest hit of all time. But where does creativity come from? Where does it, and that band was pretty much teetotalers. I don't think anybody had any kind of alcohol or drug problem out of that band.
Well, I think it comes from God, personally.
Yeah, I do too. I believe the Holy Spirit has a lot to do with it. I really do.
Because I look at what I wrote, I'm like, no, I'm not that good. Rush Limbaugh used to have a saying, talent on loan from God. And I like that because it reminds me, this isn't something that makes me special, or it's given to me, and it can be taken just as quickly if I don't use it properly.
Well, I don't know who said this, but they called us divine wind chimes.
I kind of get a kick out of that one. I like it.
Well, I mean, it's like anatomically correct cosplayers. Yeah. Yeah. But I like that idea because wind chimes, they don't have any impetus on their own. The only reason you hear from them is because the wind blows through them. On their own, they don't have any kind of like agency themselves.
It's true.
They're just hanging there. They're just hanging there until something blows on them, and then they make something beautiful. Something comes out of them. And so, Theonoustos, God breathed. It's a thing. But I personally, I'm open to, whatever allows people to access their creativity is just whatever works for them. But I think at the end of the day, altering your mind in any way, shape, or form, I think is going to prevent the art from coming out right, to me. Because once you've altered your mind and you're no longer you, once you've kind of impaired your mind in some way, then it changes who you are. And so the creativity that that comes out of you is no longer coming out of you. It's coming out of this dude that's altered in some way, shape, or form. And so if the person that you think makes the art is that altered person and not you, then I guess you're just going to have to do everything wasted, But I think if you try,
it's not as fun as it sounds.
It's not. It really isn't. But if you are feel that way, then I would suggest, just suggestion, maybe cut out the substances and see if you can do it.
Like I said, the majority of the best stuff I wrote was when I wasn't touching it at all. But I think what you were saying earlier on, that's a pattern I've noticed as well. A lot of creative people do have addictive personalities.
We really do.
That's something we all got to be real self-aware on. There's a few here and there that never have a problem with it at all. You've mentioned a couple yourself.
Right.
But in general, creative folks, we tend to be kind of oddballs to begin with, and being social creatures, and a lot of us don't gel socially so well. Yeah, we might go looking to artificially numb pain from time to time. But it's not gonna, I'm sure there's exceptions to this, but for the most part, being altered mind is not going to get you your best work.
No, because ultimately, you are the person that has been given the gift. And as such, you need to explore that gift as you, not as miss whatever that altered person is,
My multiversal variant.
There you go. Not as your multiversal variant, not as your through a mirror darkly version of you, Not the evil Spock with the
goatee.
All we are is dust in the wind. Yep. I'm gonna be humming it all afternoon now. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so next time you want to be creative, put on Dust in the Wind, and remember that if he hadn't been using that on or playing that on his guitar, and his wife hadn't told him that was cool, and if he hadn't brought it into the boys, we wouldn't have that song. Because where does creativity come from? Creativity is the whole of who you are, plus minus nothing. And so that's what I think about it. Anyway, thank you for coming on, Mr. Wrangler.
Thank you for having me. It was a good time talking to you.
No, sure. Anytime. What you got cooking that you need to let people know about?
Okay, I am an author of a couple prose novels. Mm-hmm. First one's called Haley Star Bad Kitty, and the follow-up Bad Kitty Haley's World. They are magic-fueled sci-fi fantasies. And I also have a Substack under Frequency Studios, and over there's actually a short story that takes place kind of a spin-off kind of. It's takes place after the second novel, but you can find them on Amazon. And you could also follow me, do a channel search for @Wrangler212. That's my YouTube channel. And my live show should be coming back on in the next couple weeks here.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to miss you. You've been the only consistent person on my channel lately. Anyway.
Yeah.
There you go.
We don't have the same time slots, so we're good.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool to have you around. Me, I'm actually in the process of I've taken half of my first book and making an ash can out of it. There's a good stopping point, like right in the middle. And so I'm getting it lettered right now. And I don't know if I'm making hard copies, but at the very least, people who back my book are going to be able to get a digital copy of this much of it, plus a digital 7-page comic that I did for another project that's may or may not come out. I don't know at this point. But the original Ghost Rider. And so I'm just as a thank you for the people that backed, maybe an enticement for other people to back. But right now it's going to be a digital download. But if looking at this Peter Samiti printing press that he's talking about doing, that he's got a campaign on FMC for right now, it looks like it might be pretty cheap, right? Yeah. That this won't be the book that people will eventually get. I'm almost close to the end of that. But I want people to have something in their hands like this summer. And and so that's what I'm aiming to get people to have something in their hands this summer. At least that much. And so I'm working on that right now. But I think the letterer just got back with like the first 5 pages or something like that. Then it's gonna it's going to be about 13 pages, I think, there, give or take. And so that's going to go out to people. I'd like to have something to be able to show people that this is a work in progress, that there is progress being made. But it's my first book, and I am trying to make sure that the first thing I put out, it launches the whole universe and launches it in a good enough manner that people are going to be able to get into the world, and I'll be able to write other books in it. So
I consider world building
I see so many,
a foundation.
But doing it without doing a lot of exposition is the thing. There's so many first books that are just awful. You know, they're paced awful, and it's a lot of exposition, and people, try to get people into the world. They kind of like throw too much at them.
Yep.
I want to kind of
an exhibition dump myself, so yes, it's true.
Yeah. It's such a juggling act to get your world building in, plus still something readable. So that's what I'm working on. But the first 13 pages are about to go to my editor, and we're going to get like end pages and stuff like that put on it, and that's so that's coming for people who are backing my book. You will have something in your hands that will be free of charge, but I will kind of have it for download, but the people who've already backed will get it free of charge, and but that's coming up, so pretty quick. Anyway, thank you for being on the show. Thank you, everybody out there in Telepathic Bunny Land. Thank you for visiting the rabbit hole this week. And we will see you next time. So follow that rabbit. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. God bless.
Seems like. Okay.